And then it finally started clicking and I got my first 10,000 subscribers, which is a huge milestone for people. Because if you can get that first 10K subs, man, the momentum's there, everything's there, people are watching. And that is to find channels that are kind of in your niche and model after them, which I know sounds like something we've already heard before, but it's so simple and there's really no secrets beyond this.
Clark, my man, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a while since I tried to connect with you. Like it was, the Funnel Hacking Live, and we didn't get a chance to meet there. But then I always wanted to kind of share your story with my audience because I do believe that you have something amazing that you've built. Well, actually, we'll get into questions just in a second here. But give us your version of the story in a nutshell. Like everybody, and of course my audience that was not familiar with you before, they heard about you in the intro, of course, but tell us your version in a couple minutes here. Like, how did you get started on YouTube? Why did and where is all that coming from, just so we know exactly what we look at.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. First off, man, I'm excited today. And you got that nice little branded backdrop we were talking about before the call. Man, it's been a roller coaster. And so for anyone who's thinking about starting a YouTube channel, like, it might be a little overwhelming. You're like, I follow all these YouTubers, videos seem so overwhelming. There's all this editing, there's all this tech, there's all this camera stuff. I feel like of any other platform, like Instagram's really simple, right? Because it's photos and you can kind of understand it. Facebook, it's pretty simple. Twitter, but like YouTube seems to have kind of the most like overwhelm I find when I work with clients and stuff. So that was what it was for me. I was like, I'm so overwhelmed. Why don't I just start? So I just kind of started putting out videos, and then literally, man, it wasn't until like 300 videos, it's kind of embarrassing to say, that I finally figured it out. And I was like, okay, I know how to make a good video. But my videos back then, when I first started, it wasn't professional. It was terrible quality camera. And it was me shirtless playing a drum cover to Paramore. It was like the weirdest video you could ever post. I thought I was going to be like this fitness guy playing shirtless drum covers. And I think like my mom and my girlfriend at the time were watching it. And that actually comes full circle later, which is crazy, like how things turn around. And then so I started another channel that was all about self-development and, trying to figure it out and find the niche. And then it finally started clicking and I got my first 10,000 subscribers, which is a huge milestone for people. Because if you can get that first 10K subs, man, the momentum's there, everything's there, people are watching, it's easy to rank, all the stuff we'll talk about later. And then I just went all in. I said, hey, here's 10,000 subscribers, maybe there's something here. So now it's almost at 250,000 at the time of recording, and like I haven't even run paid ads. I haven't ran like a single dollar of successful paid advertising to it. So it's all organic, 100%. That's how I built a multi-six business. Going to 7 this year with help from guys like yourself and some ads guys, because I haven't figured that out yet. That's like the other half, which is really exciting. But I guess the main thing for people, like, you just start and you never know what's going to happen from it. So, that shirtless drum cover I posted, man, actually 8 years later, someone hit me up saying they needed a drummer and they saw that video. Are you available? So that's how I got another gig of like touring in a band at like full time. So it's kind of like one part YouTube, one part band, man. And it's just like, I'm still getting chills talking about it, because it's just for everyone listening right now, like there's so much possibility with YouTube. It's insane. And every piece of content you put out, it's like almost immortal, unlike Instagram, unlike Facebook, unlike Twitter, unlike email that has like that short shelf life, right? Like YouTube videos, they take on a life of their own, which might sound corny, but like, that's why I'm passionate about it, man. And that's kind of the story in a nutshell.
Awesome, and I love it. But you mentioned something there that I was not aware. I was always under the impression that you started in the band and then you started as a YouTuber, but then the band found you through a YouTube video. So that's insane, because you've done something, because you have the band as your main gig, and then the YouTube brand. It's kind of, of course they relate, but you've built it on the side, and like you just mentioned in here, right? Like it's a multi-6-figure business going towards the 7 figures, so which is crazy, right? So let's think about that. Like, why back then? Why did you decide to put that video on YouTube with you playing the drums? Like, why you didn't just put it on Facebook? Like, why you didn't put it on Vine or whatever it was back then?
Yeah, I guess I related most to YouTube. That's what I watched. And so I think that people, like, if they're listening to this, if, you know, advice I've gotten from my coaches and mentors is like, there's so many options out there, right? It's overwhelming. Which one do you choose? And they can each be their full-time gig. And you got gurus like, you know, name names, but, you know, people at the top screaming, be everywhere. And like, for me, of course, like, I'm upfront. I'm not the most end all be all successful entrepreneur out there, but at least like I make a full-time living. I can do whatever I want. I can wake up whenever. I have all this freedom, which is like the real goal, right? And that's not braggadocious. That's like why people are listening. It's like they want that freedom. And so like you can be everywhere, but then you have no freedom, you know what I mean? And like it's easy for them to say it when they have a team of 20 people running all their micro content and all that. So for you, you know, I chose YouTube because that's what I resonated with the most. And I saw it as like, I saw the writing on the walls. It was like videos have a long shelf life. You do the work once, and then it pays you in subscribers, in organic reach, in content, in email signups, in niche branding. If you make the right video, it's like almost every little video is almost like its own sales letter, its own, I don't even know, like its own brand, its own video asset is kind of the word I use to describe it. Just like people, they invest in real estate, right? Like you can invest in videos, and if they rank and they keep bringing in customers, like that's, you only need like one or two of those videos to get hundreds of email signups that you can monetize, or to get thousands of people on your eyeballs. So like, you don't need the 300 videos like I did if you listen to shows like yours and other, and you know, marketing. And most YouTubers suck at marketing, man. I'm sorry if I'm going on a rant, but like, dude, marketers make the money. That's the number one thing. Like, if I could go back and tell myself, like, I was just a broke YouTuber, and most YouTubers are broke. I was reading 93% don't even make 17K a year on the ads. Like, that's such a shitty way. Can I cuss on here? That's such a, that's such a terrible way to monetize a channel. That's the low hanging fruit. Like, you're not on YouTube for ads. You're not on YouTube for money. You're on YouTube for the organic reach. And then you monetize off using the strategies you talk about. And man, it's such an exciting place to be. So I don't know if that answers the question, but like, I get fired up.
No, it does, man. And I love the way that you break things up for people to understand, because, you know, that the monetizing part, it's one of the, you know, latest questions, but it's important to know there are like multiple streams of income. And, you know, a lot of people don't know that you can make money even if you just have maybe 1,000 subscribers or 3,000, and you can still, if you know how to, you know, position it in a way. But I'll let you talk about that. So one of the questions that a lot of people would have, so for example, in our audience, we have coaches in different industries, right? Like health coaches or fitness coaches, or sales trainers and things like, and people like that. And they think like, all right, how, like, why would I start the YouTube channel when I can just run paid ads on Facebook? That was one of the questions that I got, I think, probably about a week ago, because we were talking about a new challenge that I'm putting together, and it was all focused towards YouTube. And then I answered in my way, but then I want to hear your answer. Why should someone start their YouTube channel, and how they should structure their content if they already have a business, for example?
Yeah. I mean, what are their goals? Is it to make even more money? Is it brand? Is it like a challenge? Like what's the main goal that
that was my question to them. And then of course, their first question was, well, can I just get webinar signups? Can I get, and of course, you know, the paid side, it's of course that I know how to answer, but in terms of organic reach, I was like, well, if you build the content around the problems that you solve, and then you do your research before to make sure that that content is actually searchable, all of a sudden you can make a huge impact, because people can find you through organic, and then you just put some money behind. And of course,
I think, I think the reach of it, I mean, that seems like a question of kind of the ROI, right? Like, how much is my time worth, like filming videos and stuff? So I was
trying to explain, like, organic, you got to look at it like at least a year, 2 years, 3 years down the line, because that can, as opposed to like Facebook or Instagram, if you're not paying for the content to be seen, I mean, it goes down in the next couple minutes or hours and you're done. Nobody sees that anymore.
Yeah, that's a great point too, man. I think it's funny, like, you know, modeling success, everyone knows on this channel, like, just model after successful people of where you want to be. And like, if you look at the big players, like the kingpins in marketing, you know, you probably know them off the top of your head, but like, let's just say the 10 biggest people, and you kind of look at where they're focusing and doubling down on. For me, what I've seen is YouTube. You know, like they're putting all this energy and time into their YouTube videos, and it's like a real viable thing. And it seems like a lot of people are coming here from the paid ad side as well. You know, like everyone's advertising on YouTube's. You refresh your browser and you see a new guy selling a Amazon course like every single day. You're just like, God, another one of these. You know what I mean? Like every single time I watch a video, man, I'm just like, if you give me 60 seconds, I'm gonna show you. I'm like, okay, all right, here we go again. You know, so I think like from both ends of it, like not only do you have the top entrepreneurs coming to YouTube, but you have like the paid side too. It's kind of like some between the lines reading, I guess. Like there might not be a clear, concise way to sum that up, but it's like it's got this new buzz I'm sensing in 2019, or whenever people are listening to this. So it's like, it's kind of like a second wind, you know, like 5 years ago, people were talking about YouTube because it was new. And then all this other stuff started going to Facebook ads. And now it's, I don't know if you sense this too, but I sense like it's kind of heating up, like the water's boiling right now and people are like kind of huddling around YouTube.
No, that's exactly like one of the reasons that I wanted you on the podcast was this, like everybody looking at Facebook's latest change of algorithms and change of terms and conditions and policies and ads, you know, costs going up and things like that. And the ad platform going to a place where it's almost, you know, it's that just back to back type of, you either bid more or you have a strategy in place, or if not, you just got to go and find a different ad platform. So I just got the feeling that a lot of people are just looking at YouTube now because it's a whole different monster, to be honest, because you have so many other places that you can advertise. Like I'm talking from a direct response thing, is when you can put your ads in front of on big channels, right? Like for example, I'm gonna just say right now, like I interview now you, and then I can run this interview on your channel as long as you allow ads on your channel, right? So of course I can get views on the videos from a paid perspective, but you've done it organically. So I was wondering, like, do you have some specific tips for people that, let's say somebody's starting out now, right? They have a business and they want now to build their channel, maybe around the business or maybe around a passion, whatever they decide. Is there like a blueprint from your perspective to say, all right, if you would do, and of course we all know that we have to provide value and we all know that we have to do, you know, a decent quality videos at the beginning. And then of course, because you compete with all the big players in the game, right? Like if somebody's just starting out, they're competing with you. You have, you know, 250,000 subscribers. How would you recommend somebody would go about the strategy? And then of course we'll get into tactic in the next question, but what the strategy should be around their channel when they first starting out, and then let's say their road to the first 1,000 subscribers.
Okay. Yeah, this is perfect, man. Because I was actually just talking to a client I have. I do some more like higher end coaching for people who have probably 10,000 subscribers and looking to get bigger. There's a few people who have 0 and they're just looking to get their first 1,000. So like the first thing I always do, and it might be different because your audience probably already has a brand, like their coaches and whatnot, and they're more established, so they're starting further ahead, which is great. The first thing you need to do, in my opinion, is really not think about what you want to talk about, but think about what other people want to hear. And so that's finding like proven content on YouTube. Because the biggest mistake I made early on was the me, I syndrome. You know, it was like, here's what I'm passionate about. And like life is, you know, about finding your passion, guys. It's like, oh, no one wants to hear rambles on life advice. Like self-development space was just like brutally crowded, man. Like that is, anyway, it's a rant for another time. So I would say, like, how do you find what people actually want on this platform so you're not wasting your time and you're making the most of it? And that is to find channels that are kind of in your niche and model after them, which I know sounds like something we've already heard before, but it's so simple and there's really no secrets beyond this. You literally find 5 to 10 model channels that have above 10,000 subscribers. It's going to depend on, you know, if you're in the health niche, you can probably find 100. But if you're in like the high ticket sales niche, there's probably only 2 or 3, you know? And so you find these 10 channels with over 10K subs. You go into their videos and YouTube lays out all the data for you. You can just sort by most popular and you know, filter out videos that are kind of legacy above 24 months and whatnot. But you find like right there on the first page, it loads their 20, 30 most popular videos. So now you have, you know, potentially 200 videos that you could film that are proven to be valuable, that you can kind of recreate. And, you know, you add your own flair on it. I always tell clients like, well, Clark, I'm not going to copy videos. You know, I have to be original. This is organic content. This is like an art form, you know, we're like being creative. And I'm like, dude, it's like, I went out to Thai food last night and I got chicken. And then the other week I went out to freaking Chick-fil-A and got a fried sandwich. It's still chicken, but it's totally different. You know what I mean? So like someone else's, a terrible example, but it works. You know, someone else's seasonings and whatnot, like on the same meat, is totally different than what you're going to do. And so you find what they're doing, and now you have 200 videos, you put your own flair on them. And that's like the fastest way, I think, that people can get their first 1,000 subscribers, 10,000 and beyond. And that's still what I do to this day, you know, is I just recreate proven concepts. Now you have what your audience wants, so you know it. But that's like the secret there. And then you just need to do it, which I think most people struggle with the doing part and not actually like the tactical stuff. Most people struggle with the like getting over things like, I hate the way I look on camera, you know, or I get nervous. It's like, I can talk fine about this to friends or maybe on a podcast or whatever, but like for some reason video, again, like people, they think they have to have this Hollywood film set, which is total garbage. You know what I mean? Like this phone right here films better videos than 20 years ago a $10,000 camera did. You know what I mean? Like it's amazing now. You can do it in front of a window, like on a white backdrop. Some of the videos I do that have 2.5 million views or whatever, it's literally like just a white backdrop. It's minimal. It's nothing, no fancy equipment above $200-300. Like you lower the bar, you model after people, and that's, I think, the fastest way to get your first 10,000 subscribers on YouTube.
I love it, man. And even the fact that you just said that you can just do it with your phone. Like oftentimes, even in the ads, we see that the ones that we shoot with like professional editing and things like that. When you do one with your phone, it just performs better.
Interesting.
Whatever reason, yeah.
Like more authentic.
Yeah, like I think just people relate to more, you know, to the ones that are just like, I'm talking about direct ads that I would just record and say, you know, sign up for this free course or download this or whatever it is. If it's on the phone, it's shaky and it's not, my voice is not perfect. It's just, I guess it relates more to people for whatever reason. So cool. Now you mentioned something in there that I want to ask you a side question to it. So model somebody else's, like one of your competitors, pick 5 competitors, you model their best videos, and then you do it over there. Now, what's the strategy behind that? Is it for you to rank around the same key phrases that they do and around the same kind of, you know, titles? And of course, you'll have to title it in your own way because you're not going to be able to beat somebody that has 1 million subscribers. But what's the, I know from a content standpoint, of course, it makes sense because you look at the person that did that video or videos and then you model it. But then what would be the next step in that process in terms of you making sure that your content gets seen? Is it people just paying for ads and show the video to? Like,
that's a good question. It's funny, man. I wish I was more strategic than like random, but a lot of YouTube is just flat out luck and hard work, which is like the most unsexy thing I can say, you know, to people who like, because I want tactics too, but one benefit we all have when you start posting these videos, and who knows, maybe it's like 1 out of 20 will catch, right? And like, man, like if that 1 out of 20 catches, well, for numbers sake, like I have a video that's 2.5 million views. I was just looking at the numbers. That's like, it brought in like 20,000 subscribers just on one video, you know? So like, you don't have to have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hit videos. Like out of 100, maybe you have 5 that really perform well. And then you just keep recreating it. But one thing I was going to say is YouTube, they give you so much data. It's insane. You know, like I can go into my studio account and see click-through rates and watch time and related search. And they just updated that actually this last year. It's a new feature, YouTube Studio. and it's like it's so easy to find. They pretty much tell you all what videos you need to film. And so that's really good if you want to approach it from more of like a paid traffic strategy, right? If you're coming from that frame, like you're more analytical with like clicks and conversions and stuff, you can do it that way. But I've always been the organic guy, so it's a little too above my my high level right there. So yeah, I wish I had more tactics on like, is it search? Is it suggested? One thing I noticed is suggested content does get like probably 40 to 50% of views. However, like 20% of mine come through search. So just SEO essentially, like old school blog SEO really. And so
Optimizing the video.
yeah, there's some tactics with that. Like it's not interesting to really deep dive into, but for people listening, like, keyword and title, the shorter your title is, the more weight it has in that keyword. So if you have like 20 words in a title and 3 of them are your keyword, well, that's less effective than if you had 5 and 3 are the one there. Of course, tags, they don't really matter, but I found that audio is really important. So in the first 30 seconds, say your keyword multiple times, and that's a good way to get it ranked. In the first paragraph of your description, put your keyword 2 or 3 times rephrased in there. And that's pretty much SEO on YouTube in a nutshell. You can do tags where you're like, let's just say I was going after Dan Locke or something, and I'm like, okay, Dan Locke, this is a video related to Dan Locke, high ticket closing, or something similar to that, to kind of like hopefully maybe get on their sidebar.
Yeah.
But YouTube is so advanced now with their algorithm. It's actually more about what you say in the video because it transcribes it all. So every single thing you're saying in your video is searchable now with the captions, as long as you don't stutter and have an accent like I do half the time. So
mine is worse. So
yeah, man. So like, that's just something to keep in mind too. That first 30 seconds is really the most important part of a video.
that's interesting. Now, I don't know. I think this is the first time that I hear this. So they're actually, even if you don't add your transcriptions to the actual video, it will recognize it anyway. So basically, the way that you start the video will actually tell YouTube if you're lying in your title or not.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
And it penalizes, I don't know to what extent. And some of the stuff is just rumors, but like if I was running YouTube, I would definitely do this, like from a business standpoint, you want honest content. You don't want 2008 like bikini girl thumbnails and then the video is like a dude in his living room. Like it doesn't make any sense. So I think they're really trying to clean it up and go as honest as possible.
No, I love that. And I think that's important for us. Specifically for me, because my channel it's small. I got a little bit over 1,000 subscribers, but recently, probably just like a month ago. So initially I started in 2016. I had like 40 videos on.
Mm-hmm.
I was just doing videos about the things that I thought my customers would ask me.
Yeah.
But they were like far from behind. Like it was so far away from actually the questions that I was getting when I first did a survey and I asked like, what would you guys want to hear? Like what, and everybody was asking the question. I was just talking tactical, but people were asking really, first level questions like, and I was like, oh my God, I was so wrong for a year and a half. And I created all these videos. 40 videos is not 300 as yours, but still, it takes, the time that it takes to create them all and everything. But
yeah,
anyway,
that's if I could jump in there, that's one thing I was, so I flew up or drove up because I'm in Seattle, so it's not that far, to Dan Locke's place. He has like this big mansion. Do you know Dan Locke?
Yeah, I had him on. He was on the podcast too. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, so he showed me his new house. It was like the first weekend he had it. It's like this 14-bedroom, immaculate house. I don't know how many millions of dollars in Vancouver. Like 5 indoor fireplaces, 1,500 bottles of wine, and he doesn't even drink. Like $100,000 fish tank. I'm walking by. He's like, "Oh, Clark, this is very expensive." And I'm like, "Okay." And it's just indoor bowling alley, like insane stuff. And so we were sitting at dinner, and I was kind of asking him the same question, like, how do you kind of decide what to make videos on? Like, that's kind of the most important question you can ask. And he's like, "Well, Clark, like, a lot of your trainings are where you give the tactical advice, the how-tos. So, for example, with high ticket closing, which I'm an affiliate for, and it's a great course and all that. It's a lot of tactical stuff, like do this, not this. Here's what you say when a client does this. It's a great course. But like the content, if you notice what he does, it's more high level, right? It's more, not a negative word, but beginner. It's more palatable for people to get them in the door. And so I think that's such a huge takeaway that I've incorporated. And I think if, to your audience who are coaches, and it's easy and fun for us to geek out on like the marketing tactics and email automations, but like that's so advanced that the people on YouTube right now, like they're, just think of them as like very beginner, like level 1, level 2, which you're like, do people really need a video on how to set up and create a ClickFunnels account? But like people make millions of dollars doing screen share tutorials on that exact thing. You know what I mean? It's crazy. So like, I think going basic at first and like giving kind of the high level tip of the iceberg, and then the other 90% behind your paywall. You're still giving awesome info, but that was a big reframe for me.
And it is right now for me, like, to be honest, because, oftentimes I just think like, all right, people want to hear how they can retarget stuff, but a lot of people maybe don't know what retargeting is.
Yes.
And then I first need to lead them with just content that they were hoping to just search, right? So like I said, literally just a month or 3 weeks ago, I actually started to really look at, all right, let's look. I use a tool called Keywords Everywhere, I think. Yeah.
Oh
Keywords.
yeah. Yeah. And yeah.
And gives me the volume. And then I create my videos around different, different phrases that are in my niche, or what I think, customers of mine would look for.
Yeah.
So
that's a great one. I mean, if you're talking tools, I think that tool is cool. vidIQ is another one. I don't really use that too much. It's a little too much info, I've found. TubeBuddy is the other one, TubeBuddy. And that's just a phenomenal tool. I use it. It kind of uses YouTube search and summarizes it. And then honestly, like the YouTube search bar is great. This is a huge game changer if people are just new to YouTube and like SEO and stuff. If you just type in like the first 2 letters, or 2 words of your keyword, and let YouTube kind of auto complete it and just see what comes up, those are all the videos that people are actually searching for, because it's completing your sentence. So I know your audience loves tactical stuff. So that's one thing I use.
This is a great tactic.
Yeah. So like, what's a video you've done in the past that you're like, okay, I know people like that?
How can you get more? How to get more coaching clients? I think that was one of the latest.
Okay. So if you, that's a little longer, because I'm assuming that whole thing is like a searchable phrase. Yeah. So if you just type that in the search bar, I'm sure other things populate after that. And then each one of those is like a new hit video you can film. So it might be how to get more coaching clients for entrepreneurs, or, for fitness professionals, for consultants, for whatever it auto populates right there. Those are all different videos. Now, of course, if you're not in that niche, it wouldn't make sense. But like, for me, if I do that on like how to get your first 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, it'll say fast, or without a blog, or without showing your face is another one, or like how to film a video on ScreenFlow, on an iPhone, on a PC, all the stuff that we wouldn't think about. And man, each one of those is like its own separate content.
I love it, man. So I know exactly what you're talking about in terms of just filling out those phrases. So you say a video of, at least the first 5 or 10 that are coming up in the search.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Definitely.
Awesome.
And then the other tool I'm sure your audience has heard of, or maybe they haven't, but it's Buzzsumo. You know that site? That's a great one I find things on. Those are more like blog headlines, right? Which is different than like a YouTube search. And it's funny, my friend who's like humongous marketing geek, and like he's phenomenal. Dude is crushing it. Runs like 3 agencies, like Facebook agency, funnel agency, like all this stuff. He's just crushing it. He's jumping from space soon. He's like half the time he was doing this live stream, and on there he was telling me that you like use improper English with your titles, because YouTube, it like almost doesn't care how it's phrased. And even when your brain's reading it, the ands, buts, thes, best, like all that stuff, throw it out. So like how to get more clients could almost be like get more clients. And then like, again, because what we talked about, like the more words you have in there, the less weighted they are. So it's like you can almost get away with improper English sometimes with titles.
Awesome. And would you think it's smarter to go after, because we all want like volume, right? Like we all want the volume of search to be huge, but do you
Yeah.
think it's smarter for a smaller channel like mine or even smaller to go after, let's say, maybe just a couple hundred searches versus a couple of thousands, because it'll be harder to rank for those?
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it. Yeah, absolutely. What you just said, man, you're spot on. So like the small channels going after the long tail is how you're going to build it. So I'll also inject here one thing I did that was the first thing that really helped my channel take off and get those first 10,000 subscribers was trying to anchor myself to somebody else who was bigger. And the way I did that, because I'm like, well, I can't really interview people because I have nothing. Like, who am I going to interview? Like the guy with, anyway, so that didn't work. And so I went after their book summaries. And so I'm like, you know what? I'll go to Amazon right now and see what the top 20 business books are. And I just literally wrote them down, ordered them all, read them, found the 10 best ideas, and summarized them in a video. And some of those videos, they got hundreds of thousands, 500,000 views. At Funnel Hacking Live, the people who like came up to me, which was really weird because we film all isolated, so you forget that people are actually watching and real people sometimes. They're like, dude, I saw your book summaries. Like, that's always the thing that people talk about. And so anchoring yourself to somebody bigger. And so here's another little secret that I'm actually doing right now, because I did the top 20 books, so I can't really do them anymore. So I'm going after entrepreneurs now. So if I can't interview someone, if they're too busy or whatever, now I'll do Tony Robbins' best 5 ideas and summarize those. So now you're getting Tony Robbins' audience searching for him, but to you, and you're providing value, and you're giving to them, and you're saving them time, and you're giving just banger content. And now they're associating you with that bigger entrepreneur right there. So I don't know if that applies to coaches and consultants really, but that's something that I've done, and it's worked in the past, and it's probably going to work now.
No, that's super smart, because what you just said in there, like it's the same thing as I tied this up with your first strategy that you just gave. Pick up 5 to 10, your biggest competitors, biggest channels, and then focus on their videos. But then what if those 5 to 10 channels also have books? Like now you also combine these two, and all of a sudden you have a huge strategy. So I hope everybody's taking notes, because this is some real powerful strategy in here. So you mentioned something in there before I asked you about the monetizing part. You said 70% of the videos most of the times come from suggested, and 30%, let's say, come from search, right? You nailed actually the search part. How can you go after suggested videos? How can you influence at least a little bit YouTube to actually suggest your video into somebody else's channel? Like, how is that can you do that other than paid?
Yeah, man, I honestly don't know. I've yet to crack that code. I think it's kind of tough to do like this. This result will happen if I do X, Y, and Z. The closest thing I know is to just model similar videos. I mean, YouTube does give you, once you have these videos, they give you all this data. So it's great. If you want to look into it, if you're a data nerd, right, and you're very analytical with the stuff, which is not me. Like I suck at data. So that's why I have a guy who's going to run my ads. And like, I don't like looking at a Facebook ads manager just gives me a heart attack. Like even looking at my YouTube analytics, I'm like, I don't want to know, but like I love the creative side of it. So, but if you're a data person, which you'll make a lot of money if you are, off guys like me who don't want to do it, but like you can go into your YouTube analytics and they give you a breakdown of where your suggested videos are coming from. So for my viral videos with like millions of views, I can see exactly what percentage of traffic is coming from those. And so I'm like, okay, if they're getting 3% of my traffics for this video is coming off of this video, and it's phrased a little differently or it's similar, what if I create that exact same video? And so you can reverse engineer it once you have data, but you can't really do anything until you have data other than the model channels we spoke about, if that makes sense.
No, it does. It does a lot of sense, because obviously, and especially the strategy with the book, that one I love a
Yeah.
lot, because once you do that, and then you mention the name of the author and all that stuff, and then of course the first 30 seconds, if you're smart to mention that part, then the rest of course might tie up your video towards the author's content. So that's smart.
Yeah, and I want to say, like, man, because I know you're great with ads, right? And like you love paid traffic, and I'm sure a lot of people love paid traffic. Like, I'm so jealous of you because you have such an advantage on YouTube now. Because like, I don't do paid traffic, but I flew down to interview my friend Matt, who's in Phoenix. He does like 2.5 mil drop shipping a month, or he's had months that do that. I don't know if he does it every month, but like crazy. It's all paid traffic, right? And he's starting a YouTube channel organically. And I'm like, Matt, why are you starting a YouTube channel, man? Kind of to the point you were speaking about earlier. Like, if you're already doing paid stuff, like why start organic stuff? And he was telling me, man, like, because you don't understand, like, it's not about the organic reach of millions and millions of views. It's all about the retargeting. That's the only reason I'm doing it. And so once you get people who are subscribed to your channel, like everybody knows, I'm preaching to the choir, it's so much cheaper to convert them through retargeting, and you're kind of doing the hardest part organically. And then you can just come in and kind of scrape more cream off the top, and your ad rates are going to go down. You know, all this stuff is going to get cheaper, and you're going to make more money in the end because you're doing the organic stuff of the warm up instead of just going after this cold traffic, which is like really expensive. I burned like 10K trying to do that, which was stupid. But you know what I mean? Like, you just retarget them.
No, it's really important, and I love the fact that you actually mentioned that. So that gets me to the next question, right? Because we really got super tactical, and I love that. But somebody starting out, they putting, let's say, 10, 20 videos, or let's say 4 videos a month, right? Like let's have that as a goal, because it took me a little bit to understand how to batch produce content, to be able to just do it in one day, you know, schedule it in advance. Now I have somebody that's editing my videos. But somebody that's just starting out, they're doing, let's say, the goal 4 videos a month. How and what they can do to start thinking of, all right, how am I able to monetize these, so I'm not just waiting for the millions of views for AdSense? Because a lot of people, I think, they get trapped. And Dan Locke shared this, I think about a month ago or 2 months ago, when I talked to him before the Funnel Hacking Live. It's like 10 others that you can make more money than just waiting for the AdSense, because it takes so much, like you probably know, it takes so much time to get those millions of views, and they have to be consistent in a way for you to actually get a check every month. What do you think it's a good strategy for somebody that's just starting out?
Yeah, there's a lot to say there. I mean, AdSense is great, but I always say it's like a tip jar. You know, it's like if you have a street musician, where are they going to make most of their money? Like the people putting in $1? Well, it's probably the people buying their CDs. You know, so it's kind of like that open guitar case is what AdSense is. And then what you have as an entrepreneur who's already further ahead than most YouTubers, because you're coming in from a marketing standpoint, and like you're just going to clean everybody up if you have marketing behind you. If marketing first and then you go into YouTube, that's a way more, like, you know, funnels and email automation and all this stuff. Like, you're going to clean up with YouTube, because again, 97% of YouTubers just bank on ads, and they just go after like 17K a year, and they're like, hey, this is a nice, you know, side income. But how do you make a full-time income from it? You know, so for me, you know, as a digital marketer, it's all classic funnels and email automation and courses, really, and selling people courses related to what the videos are. So that's where I make a lot of the money on the back end, is through courses. The only goal with ads, in my opinion, is like to break even on your YouTube content. So a given month, like, just for transparency and numbers for people if they're curious, I think around 2018, 2019, got to like $4,000 to $5,000 a month on ads, which is like, that's decent. You know, that can pay rent, that could car payment, pay off loans, whatever. I'm sure people listening wouldn't complain if they had an extra 4 or 5 grand in profit.
I'll take 4 or 5K a month every time.
Yeah, it's great.
It's awesome.
And then, yeah, it was fantastic. But I recently hired a team of 7 people to pretty much run my entire YouTube channel. So like now I record a video, I upload it to a Google Drive or whatever, and then I tell them exactly what to do on like a Trello flow. And this is, again, more tactical and advanced, but I know your audience likes it. and then the whole thing is kind of done, and I'm the high level stuff kind of orchestrating it, but all the tactical in the trenches they're doing. So that 4 to 5 grand goes now, instead of me taking it and pocketing it or investing it, it just goes to pay them so we can put out lots more content. And then the back end's where you're making the money. So it's like front end YouTube, getting people in and breaking even, and then the back end, kind of like a free book funnel, you know?
Exactly. No, I love that. So just to kind of break it up from there, you advise people to basically structure their YouTube channel, of course, their products and their services, right? Like to make sure that they tied up that into making sure that send the subscribers back to their funnels into their own.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. Like if you're a coach right now watching this or listening to this, and I don't know, give me a number. Like, what do you think all your coaches sell their packages for? Like, what's a pretty standard
So let's
rate?
say one of our recent clients, let's say $25 to $3,000 on like a 2-month contract type of thing.
Okay, great. So yeah, 3 grand is like one client, you know, like, and you make a video that gets 10 leads and you get to close maybe 1 or 2 of them, you know, that all of a sudden is like a $6,000 video right there. So it's like the ROI for if you're selling higher ticket stuff or niche stuff on YouTube, like you don't even need thousands of subscribers. You don't even need thousands of views. You could have 100 views on a video, and it's actually better if you have 100 views on a video of the right people than if you have 100,000 views of like a Logan Paul video. You know what I mean? So it's like not about the masses, it's about like the right people. And I wish I knew that sooner on, because my channel is actually very broad. And that's another thing I'll say is if you're like, well, we talked about the tip of the iceberg and going broad, but like YouTube these days kind of penalizes channels that cover too many topics, because it doesn't know where to feature you. It doesn't know, okay, who's he related to? He's doing self-development and then book summaries and sales, and it's just too confusing. And so that's been one of my weaknesses, just to be honest, is like, we don't want to get pigeonholed in one topic, but like that's what YouTube wants. They want you to be this one trick pony, like over and over creating the same style video. So I have friends who've flown past me just because they like, I'm only talking about finances. Like every day it's all about finances. So stocks, entrepreneur finances, sales, but it all relates to just finances and money. And they don't have any self-development or book summaries, and they just crush it in a year's time because they're so niche. And that's really what YouTube wants now.
That's interesting. What you just said now, I know Evan Carmichael, I'm pretty sure you're familiar.
Yeah.
He just broke down his channel into like 8 different channels.
Yeah.
So like the videos that are just with him are on his personal channel. And then the other videos are just on, you know, different type of other like niche specific for each person that he was, you know, modeling about just 1 second. Awesome, man. I love it. You literally blew my mind with everything that you shared with us today. So if somebody wants to learn more about the way that you teach the whole YouTube strategy, because I mean, people will just hear what you just said. They'll take a lot of notes down, but of course in 1 hour, we can only share so much. Where they can go to find out more about all your trainings or other things that you have.
Yeah, if they're serious, just shoot me a DM on Instagram, just coaching. And my Instagram is just Clark Kegley.
And we'll make sure, of course, we'll put the link in the show notes and description of this episode. And is Instagram your favorite spot now in terms of communication with
communication? Yeah. YouTube, it just gets too messy with the comments. But if they want on YouTube, just search my name, Clark Kegley, and come on over, subscribe. It'll be awesome.
Before I let you go, what's your thought on people that just debate between IG and YouTube? Because I know these two now, like with IGTV now, with the vertical long form video, a lot of people would say like, oh, why should I focus on YouTube? Because IGTV is new and it's going to feature me more because they want more content. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, I mean, test both and see what works and what's more natural for you. I personally am all in on YouTube. So it just for my mental space, I have to say no to a lot of things, right? Because my coach, he told me I'm in this mastermind, it's like 25K. He's like, Clark, you don't get ahead on business in life by your yeses. You get ahead by your no's, so you can focus. And I was like, speaking of blowing minds, I was like, oh my God, that's so good. So like, there's always going to be things popping up here and there. And like, for me, my one thing is YouTube. So I just mentally, you know, I kind of say no to other stuff unless it's like obvious and I'm open to it. But Instagram's great for like, I love it for fun and connecting with people and stuff, but I don't really try to grow it as big as it can get because it just takes its own like team to run or its own strategies.
Love it, man. And even just that alone, and I love that I asked you that question, just that thing alone, because now I'm thinking, right, like you are at 250,000 subscribers on YouTube. And when I asked you that question, I almost thought you're going to say, well, yeah, that's my next step. I'm now I grew to this point on YouTube. I'm good. I'm going to grow now my Instagram. But you said no. So that's super important for everybody that's listening. And also for me personally, because, you know, we all get into this trap of wanting to do so many things at once. But just that alone, it's an advice that can save a lot of time and make a lot of money for everybody, including
Definitely. Me. Yeah, it's like catching two rabbits and you don't catch either. I tried to outsource Instagram and maybe I did it wrong, but like I had a fan and I hired a guy who was just creating like a brand account with like 60-second clips and the text and everything. And it just like wasn't performing. So I'm like, why is my energy getting diverted to here? Even the mental space it takes up, you know, it's like having 2 children, 3 children or whatever. Like, I'm sure I'm not a dad, but I'm sure like the mental capacity is like kind of overwhelming, you know? So like just having this one thing, one focus, I find peace in that and simplicity.
Love it, man. Again, really appreciate you coming on and sharing all that knowledge with us. And we'll make sure we'll list all the your handle. And by the way, do you have anything available for people to watch now, like any trainings that you put out there recently, where they can go to watch that if they want?
Yeah, if they're serious about like taking their YouTube channel to the next level. So I do coaching for people who have over 10,000 subscribers and they really want to monetize it or get to 100. But that first 0 to 10,000, we cover it all in a course I have, Video Breakthrough Academy, which you'll link down below. And that's just a course that literally is like the roadmap to get your first 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. We go into not just tactical stuff, but we go into branding, positioning, you know, finding like a blue ocean in such a crowded space, how to monetize using the 8 best ways to monetize, growth tools, all the gear you would need. Like, it's not a film school. You don't need a film degree, but most people, they see a camera, they're like, I've never used this in my life, you know? So we walk over the basics in that and then some advanced stuff as well. If you do want to be more hands-on, you want to edit, great, we got all that stuff. If you want to outsource it, great, we got all that stuff, how to do that too. So it's very much like the comprehensive guide to getting your first 10K subs. Yeah, they won't have any questions after that.
Awesome, and love it. So we'll make sure we'll link up all those, the course and also your Instagram for people to make sure they can check that out. Again, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And
yeah, man,
we'll definitely link up again at Funnel Hacking Live.
Next Funnel Hacking Live. We got to go out for drinks or something.
Of course, man. Again, thanks a lot, man.
You bet, man.